When you have to shoot, don't talk.
All right, everyone. Welcome to the Trap House Podcast for episode 14. We have Andy Weiser on the show today. A lot of people have been asking when that was going to drop, and today's the lucky day. We got together with Andy there at the NTA in Missouri. Had a chance to share some stories, talk trapping, and share some laughs. Heck of a guy. We'll get to that in just a minute, but before we begin, I want to mention a big rendezvous coming up here in central Indiana at Hoosier Trapper Supply by the Fur Takers of America Chapter 7B. It's the fall rendezvous. It's a one-day deal, and it's free to the public. Anyone can come. There is a free will donation to help cover the food and things like that, so keep that in mind. But we have a packed schedule starting first thing in the morning. We got demos. We got kids' games. There's going to be a heck of a lunch provided. Hog roast and the famous Jim Mahoney rendezvous stew is going to be on. And during lunch, we're going to have some live music entertainment by Sierra Farrell. She's a big deal in Nashville and spreading her wings and going all over the world now. Just recently signed with Rounder Records. She'll be performing during lunch. I'm sure you'll enjoy her voice is pretty much pure gold, so you'll hear that. Then, of course, we'll have the fur bearer biologist. We'll be giving a little talk. And there's a cool demo that we do called the Tornado Demo. And it's pretty cool. It's kind of opens it up for discussion. What it is basically everyone gets in a big circle. And someone can stand up and talk about any sort of trapping topic. You give them 7-minute limit. Just kind of cover whatever it is. It could be about a lure. It could be about a set. Whatever, and then the next person can give their 2 cents either on that or something totally different. It's just a good idea and a good way to start a good conversation about different ways to trap. That's kind of cool. We've only done that maybe 1 or 2 times in the past, and it's going to be there this year. And another cool segment, you can bring your own gear for this, or there'll be some there available. There's a coyote trapping critique on making sets. So bring whatever you want, whatever you use in the field. Jim Tate and Charlie are going to basically help critique you along. If you're new to trapping or you're well experienced, it doesn't really matter. Just walking through the steps, and it's kind of like a Q&A in the field. So it's a lot of fun. A lot of people participated in the past. It turned out really good. Then, of course, we have the auction to sum things up there in the evening. So bring a donation if you have one, and you might want to bring a lawn chair too. We'll have plenty of hay bales and things like that, straw bales to sit on, but it doesn't hurt to bring a chair just in case. But we have demos in front of the building, in the side field, and across the road where the parking is, there's a creek, and we do demos by the creek too. So we got a lot going on. Just wanted to put that out there for everyone. It's September 28th. All right, moving on. Got to pay some bills here with some of our sponsors. We have J3 Outdoors, j3o.com, maker of the Hags Bracket. Check his website out. Jeff is a heck of a guy. We did a podcast with him in the past. I'm sure you heard it. If not, you might want to backtrack and check that one out. And check his website out for some trapline products there, especially if you're a water trapper. And also the Top Lot Stretcher Company. Their website is toplotstretcherco.com. And they're a full line of trapping supplies. And definitely a nice quality adjustable stretcher that I've talked about in the past that I recommend. We use them ourselves here, me and Charlie. And so give them a shot, or at least check their website out and scroll through their stuff and see what might work for you in your assembly. And also got to give it up for Hoosier Trapper Supply. Without that, this would not be going on, at least from my standpoint. Andy Weiser is our guest today, and we sell his lure, so you can find it at HoosierTrapperSupply.com. And that's basically it. Let's jump into this. I know everyone's waiting. So we'll see you after. All right, we're here with another podcast. Very special guest, Andy Weiser. Thanks for being on.
Glad to be here.
Of course, Charlie's here as usual.
Yep.
And,
glad to be here with Andy.
We're sitting in the parking lot at the NTA Convention here in Springfield, Missouri. And we're going to sit down and talk with Andy about some things. Before we get started, we kind of like to start with a bio. If you want to give a little background about yourself and how you got into all this mess.
Well, I just want to say it's a pleasure to be here and get asked to do this. I thank you guys.
Well, thank you, we appreciate you doing it. I mean, it's, So.
The NTA is hopping right now, but we're sitting in nice air conditioning, talking trapping here in a minute.
That's right.
No, I got started trapping in Ohio. That's where I grew up. I was 7 years old. Had a grandpa that had muskrat traps, and Dad told me when I was strong enough to set a trap by myself, I could do it. And I think I caught 7 or 8 muskrats that year and averaged $8 a piece on them.
Yeah.
I was hooked.
Yeah.
The next year I caught my first mink. I got $45 for it. Yeah, we all love to trap. It's our passion. We'd do it whether the prices were good or not. But back in those days, it was about the money. And we just try to do what we can do to make it work.
Yeah. That was like 80s.
Yeah, that
then?
would have been 77.
Okay. I'm obviously older than you are, but those were crazy times.
It was unbelievable. That's what every rural kid wanted to do. He wanted to trap coon, wanted to hunt coon with coon dogs. Back then, there was no coyotes in Ohio. It was all red fox.
Right.
And I remember seeing my first coyote track and hearing my first coyote yip. And it was like seeing the first deer track. I remember those days, too.
Yeah.
If you seen a track, you were a hunter.
Yeah.
And I caught my first coyote when I was 14. That was 1984. Ohio actually had a $75 bounty on him then.
Really?
Yep. The county dog warden would come. He would inspect the coyote. If it had a black spot at the base of the tail, like all wild canines have, the county would issue a check for $75 and you got to keep the coyote.
That's pretty awesome.
That's not a bad deal.
How did they know that you didn't recirculate the same coyote back in? Did they?
Yeah, I was so young and pumped up. I don't remember anything about that part. I did sell that coyote to Basil Fur Company, Bob Basil.
I remember him.
Yep, he was an awesome fur buyer. I still keep in touch with him today. And it was sad to see him go, when I walked out of there. And then for my birthday that year, Mom and Dad had bought the coyote back and had it tanned.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, it was. It was kind of wild. But no, I caught several the next year and cashed in on those bounties, and then they did away with the bounty program after that.
Yeah. I remember when I was a kid, Indiana, we had a bounty on red foxes. And it was cheap. It was only like $3 or $3.50, and they cut the ears off. And I remember my grandpa, who didn't trap, he just kept critters under control around the farm. They were self-subsistent farm, but we had that bounty in Indiana on reds, and they must have done away with that probably in the 60s would be my guess, because I don't remember it going much. I don't remember it being in the 70s, So.
Oh yeah.
But
no, then you turn around and go through all the years of good coyote trapping, and you see states like Utah opening up a bounty on coyote, and now the county that I live in Montana, there's it's not called a bounty anymore. It's called trapper reimbursement, but there's a $500 reimbursement on wolves.
Well, that's awesome.
It's called Senate Bill 200. The Senate passed a few years ago. You can, if you're an agent of a ranch, you can kill wolves year-round in the vicinity of livestock.
So what's entailed in becoming an agent of a ranch?
To be the ranch trapper.
Okay.
Yep.
And they designate that to you or
they do
whomever. And
the ranch verifies that.
Okay.
I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of ranches out there that let this guy trap or that guy trap, but the ranches I trap for, I'm exclusive trapper. I'd be the agent of the ranch.
Okay. So that you had an awesome photos on Facebook last season of those wolves that you guys caught. That was
yeah. Well, been catching and releasing wolves for years. They've been around since, heck, I think I caught my first one about 1995. But they're getting thick enough, and the state's realizing that they do need to be killed. We're going for it now.
Yeah. So going back to Ohio, when did you make the move to Montana?
Graduated high school. Always wanted to head west. I wasn't ever one to. Ohio was a great place to grow up back in them days. I mean, I grew up on a creek. There was everything that lived in Ohio on that creek. But I wanted good pale coyotes. I wanted elk. I wanted the mule deer. And yeah, I bailed out of there right after graduation, pretty much.
And moved straight to Montana?
Yeah,
then?
I went straight to Montana.
Okay.
I hit Colorado, realized that there was no trapping in that state, which blew my mind.
Yeah, that's hard to believe.
And I gassed up there and headed northwest and landed in central Montana. I've lived all over Montana, or I should say I've trapped all over Montana, but I lived in Helena for about 11 years, right smack dab in the middle of the state almost, and just beautiful mountain coyotes. It wasn't the sagebrush and rocks like I liked, and I went south from there, and I'm on the Big Hole River about 20 miles north of Dillon.
Okay.
It's a mixture of western and eastern Montana, all put into one right there.
Okay, so is there some like row crop agriculture there too, or not?
There's hay ground.
Okay.
There's a lot of hay, some wheat, but mostly sagebrush, rocks, and timber.
Okay. So what terrain do you like produces the most critters?
Without a doubt, the valley bottom, where it's prairie and sagebrush type country.
Okay.
And some like Missouri Breaks type
Okay.
country. But you get up in the mountains, the fox are thick up there.
Mhm.
They're doing real good up there. We got reds and crosses both. I've caught occasional silver up there. And the mountain coyotes are beautiful. They're real heavy, especially early in the year.
Mm-hmm.
They will migrate out with the deer and the elk when the snow starts getting deep, but that's where I like to start my trap line. I start hitting them around the 1st of October.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll get pushed out with the snow just like they do.
Mm-hmm. So you just follow them down?
I follow them down.
Okay.
I don't necessarily bypass the valley. I mean, you got to go through it to get up there, but I try not to hit on it too hard until after everything settles down and I'm forced to trap that anyhow because of weather.
Right. Now, are the coyotes up there too? Or they're okay.
Oh yeah, there's their own family of coyotes are back there. Like I said, some of the best coyotes of the year come out of that early season from back there.
Mm-hmm.
But they do come down, and I'm sure there's battles in the valley, over territory.
I imagine. So the pup dispersal, does that kind of coincide with the weather normally, or is that it depends on the year?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I could guess, but I'd probably be just acting like a big shot if I said otherwise. Yeah. All I can tell you is I set on the travelways and take what I can get.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Interesting. We have a mutual friend, Mark Stack.
Oh, yeah.
And I know you. He comes out and helps film for your videos.
Yep.
and
film and have a good time.
Yeah.
Just be buddies.
Yeah. Well, he's a bit of a character,
Yeah.
to say the least. He.
If I can get him out of bed in the morning, we get her done. Just kidding, Mark.
No, he's not.
Well, when we went up with him and ran on his snare line, 8 o'clock was fine to start, or 8:15. He was fine with that. So that's okay with me too, I guess.
I can make his coffee to go after I had my 2 pots.
Yeah. But yeah, and yeah. Anyways, he's a lot of fun to be with, and I'm assuming you guys had a great time in doing that.
We did. And you talk about that pup dispersal. I've got him figured out in the valley. It's easy down there because it's flatter, and the interstates help divert animals. But as far as a backcountry dispersal, that is one thing that's always intrigued me.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it would be. You would think it'd be more in the drainages and the main travelways, but those coyotes can go anywhere they want.
Mm-hmm.
They can cut right through the sage, go up and over the hill, and down into the other side without you even knowing if there isn't snow on the ground.
Mm-hmm. Is it your thought that once you have that dispersal down there in the areas where you pretty much that month of December is just kind of that hanging out month?
Oh yeah,
Yep,
definitely. You'll see a lot of tracks headed in this direction or that direction, but you will figure out where the bigger majority of your coyotes are coming from, and you'll just want to set heavy in that area and almost leave them other ones alone because you're burning your time up.
Yeah, you mean leaving the
lesser traveled
okay
drainage or country,
mm-hmm.
I guess is what I'm saying. You got mountain saddles. Those are always good set locations. But some of them, might produce you one good coyote a year. Might be the best coyote you caught all year. But you spend a lot of time looking at empty traps in that saddle until it finally connects.
Right.
It could be $150 or $200 coyote and make you really glad you stayed, but if you want to take numbers, you might want to bypass that kind of stuff and
mm-hmm.
just set heavily on the real good cow trails that are coming down following the creeks and drainages.
Right. Do you feel like that December hanging out coyote is a little more challenging to catch?
No, I don't. He might just look at you the first 2 or 3 times, but if you've got confidence in what you're doing, your set looks natural. The stuff the lure you're throwing in there's murdered 1 million good coyotes over the years.
Yeah.
He's eventually going to jump in there and get caught.
And I'm sure you get asked the same questions like the coyote. Oh, this coyote just walked right by my stuff. What am I doing wrong? You're not doing anything wrong.
That's part of the
that's
deal.
the nature of that animal.
Yeah, patience.
Yeah.
Wait him out.
Yeah. I mean, he may have not been in the frame of mind to work a set. He may have not even smelled it. Any number of factors. Just more than anything, probably just the mood of the coyote at the time, I suppose.
No doubt about it. I remember, honestly, one year, it's been quite a while ago, it was at the end of the night, just right before dark. I'd ran out of dry dirt. I ran out of wax dirt. It was cold and snowing, and I got dug up. They uncovered my trap, pulled my pan cover off, and I said, screw it. And I just drove right on by. Said I'll rebuild it my next trip through, and I had a big old dog coyote waiting for me. He stepped in a bear trap.
Yeah.
Exposed trap, just laying there.
But
I had patience. I mean, I didn't pull the trap and say enough's enough.
Yeah. And they don't know what a trap is.
No.
I mean, it could be just a piece of twisted up sagebrush in their mind.
That pan could have just looked like a flat rock.
Yeah. It's not.
But the lure was still there, and it still had the urine sprinkled around, and not giving up, I guess is what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
And that wasn't a pup coyote either. That was a big old scarred up male coyote that
seen a few things
that had been around. The one that you're waiting to catch.
Yeah. The coyotes then, as they move down and you get in the valley. So when are you starting to get into like springier looking coyotes, or you're starting to lose your quality?
My country, I mean, it really can mind boggle you. I can see junk in January real easy, but I've also I sold some April coyotes this year that was from last April for $65.
Yeah.
I mean, I honestly think, and there might be some people call BS, but there's some of the best fur buyers in the country I've sold fur to that know that they start growing fur out immediately after they rub.
Okay.
And I have seen spring coyotes with a new hair growth that were pretty shiny.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
So they were So I wonder what that same coyote then does, and what's he look like in June
I
or
don't
July?
know if it's something that if he's one of that bunch that rubs early, and then by 3 months later, he's a gorgeous coyote again come spring. I don't know. I do a lot of damage control that time of year. I trap around a lot of calf pastures, and probably out of 50 coyotes, I'll skin a dozen or 18.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not skinning coyotes if they're junk, I promise you.
Right. Right. That's interesting.
But I don't want to throw a good coyote away, especially if you at least make a nice wall hanger.
Yeah. Because we've got Indiana, we have coyotes too, but they don't look like yours.
They're like the ones I grew up with.
Yeah, exactly. Ohio. Yeah,
It's a different animal.
it's a whole different deal.
Brush wolf.
Yeah, and but that's interesting because we can have a just pure junk even in November, December. We're all rubbed up. Of course, sometimes they got that lice, which that's a different story. But and then we will have coyotes that guys catch in January and February that look pretty decent.
Oh yeah.
So chances the later you go that it's going to increase your chances of one that's not looking so good. But we do get those coyotes that.
I had a top lot one year that came out of Ohio. 2008, I went back for a visit mom and dad, and poured a concrete slab for dad for his pole barn, and I ended up staying and coaching Pee Wee football for the school I used to go to.
Oh yeah.
Next thing you know, it was time to trap some coyotes, and I said, "Why not? I'll stay a couple more weeks," and I think we killed 100, and I shipped them through Terry Manley.
Sure.
And I have one top lot semi-heavy.
Out of that.
Yep. It was a nice pale, fairly silky, western-looking coyote.
Yeah.
And I got the picture at home. He's in bean stubble.
I'll be darned.
So you never
Which is
know.
probably what you don't
But
have
I'll tell
in
you what,
Montana.
the other 99 didn't cut it very good.
Well, that's probably about right. 1 out of 100.
Yeah.
So you mentioned Terry Manley. Did you know him before? Or
No, I've heard of him, of course, but
Yeah.
no, that's who everybody in that area shipped.
Right.
Was the NAFA guy. And
Right.
We went up to his place, and he's a heck of a nice guy.
He is. I've known him since I was a teenager. I mean, and known him forever. So yeah, he's a nice guy, and he's been an important person for the fur industry for sure.
Right.
As far as fur buyer for years, and then now a NAFA collector, and of course now he's getting to the point where he'd like to slow down a little bit. But on the other hand, I think he wants to keep busy with it too.
Get after it, Terry.
Yeah. So I think he's up in his latter part of his upper 70s now. So but he still he still keeps after it. So when you had mentioned earlier that when Mark Steck comes out, you get a hold of a bear.
Every once in a while I'll have something like that, but yeah, I think it was Mark's first trip. We were going to film some fox stuff up. We started right on the edge of the mountains, and it was the first trap to check. Had some brand new 175 Bridgers I just started using, and I'll be darned if my first set didn't have a huge chocolate bear held by one toe. Had him short chained, and it was a good 14-foot cat circle. I looked at Mark. I said, I don't know about this. We better have this one darted. I've choke pulled a lot of bears in my life, but that was one that made a 6-foot choke pull look pretty short.
Yeah.
And we had the fishing game come and tranquilize him, and I filmed Mark filming it. It was pretty cool having two different cameras going up there. And got him turned loose. That little 175, I tell you, I caught a lot of coyotes. It's not my choice trap by any means.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little trap. And we've got big fox in the mountains. I'd honestly rather have a number 3 on anything I trap in Montana.
Mm-hmm.
But for the money, if anybody, is budgeted on a good trap, good all-around coyote and fox trap, you can't hardly beat that little thing for holding power. We've caught lions in them. If it gets them above a knuckle, it's going to clamp on.
You got them.
Yeah.
Are you running those as a 2-coil trap then, or is it
No,
4-coil?
I had them 4-coiled. Only thing I did to them was weld the rivet shut. I'm a firm believer in welding my rivet shut. I mean, I've got too many wolves, too many bears and lions. Even big coyotes, I've had rivets opened up, but I run a 3/16 quick link to a chain stake.
Okay.
That's how I attach. I'm not a big fan of a swivel at the very end of the chain. It's always down in the dirt.
Right.
I like the swivel up at the trap. That's the one that's working constantly. But I like every trap. I'm a Sterling guy. I love Sterlings. I love the MB 750 Wolf. That to me is with a 1/4 inch offset. That's a versatile wolf and coyote trap. I like double longs. I've still got my number 4 new houses. I caught my very first wolves in. Heck of a coyote trap. But I hear a lot of guys arguing, "Oh, this trap's best. This one's the best." Just give me a trap and let me set it. You know?
Yeah.
Duke 4. I did a little playing around with a Duke 4 with Tom Bodette coyote cuff jaws. That's a heck of a trap. Victor 3.
The old Victor 3s.
Not going to get any arguments out of me on what trap's the best because they're all the best.
Yeah. They
Yeah, I love the old Victor 3 round jaw.
Yeah.
Especially the dogless Montgomery version.
Okay. Yep.
I've killed a lot of animals out of that trap.
Yeah. Are you having trouble getting those, or you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've turned them on to my buddies. I've got some really good friends from the South that came to our schools, and I don't think I even own any anymore. They kind of got them out from under me.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Glenn Sterling's a good friend. I've got more 600 Sterlings than I do anything, and that's a trap. When you slide it in there, it's just full confidence.
That's a heck of a trap.
Yep.
You know, and he was just given the Fur Takers Hall of Fame award in Virginia last month, and when you think about, so he was so far ahead of his time as far as the development of the wide cast jaw, the rounded jaws, the
D-ring center swivel,
the whole thing. Yeah. You know,
there's a lot of things he did that people don't realize.
Where that basically the BMPs were developed after the fact that he'd already done
it. Yeah, absolutely. The nail swivel, the first and still the most foolproof swivel there is.
Yeah,
that was Glenn Sterling.
Yeah. So it, and there's over the years there's a few guys like that probably didn't capitalize financially off of some of that development that they probably were entitled to.
Well, I've watched Glenn Jr. build that trap from scratch, and I'm telling you right now, if you think you want to copy a trap, that's not one I would choose, because that is
very involved,
very delicate work.
Yeah,
Glenn Sterling's a genius. Glenn Jr. is a genius when it comes to fractions of an inch and the tolerance. I mean, if you're off 2 hairs, something's not going to fit. When you set that trap and you push the rod all the way toward the left, the pan every time lays flat when it clicks.
Yeah.
Can't say enough good things. But the Bridger 3 dogless,
for a stock
out
trap,
of the box coyote machine.
Yeah.
Truly is.
Yeah.
I like them all.
Non-committal.
That's right. Just come and see my place. You'll find out. Mixed breeds everywhere.
Yeah. So, you went to Mexico to trap.
You did. Been a long time ago. 2 years, 2 different springs.
So how'd that come about?
I was in Butte, Montana, coming home. I lived in Helena, but I was trapping south of Butte, and I had a little Bronco too. And I'd always throw my coyotes on top and tie their feet to the rack. I was coming through Butte with about a dozen coyotes up there, and these Mexicans started following me, and I thought, oh, here we go. But I come to a stop, and the guy got out and said, "Senor, I need to hire you." And I was like, we got to talking. I was like, no way, I'm not going down there. And I got to thinking about it, and I just got divorced, so I was done riding bulls and figured, why not have a different adventure? Yeah, they flew me out of Spokane and took my equipment down. His brother owned a restaurant in Montana. They had a huge ranch, and they had a heck of a coyote problem. I think they started out with like 5,000 head of goats, and they were probably down to maybe 3,000 head. And
oh my gosh.
yeah, and they had pigs too, and they had a heck of a mountain lion problem. It was really rugged country. A lot of lime tree groves. It was like the jungle taken off. We stayed in town by the ocean, and then you go through banana groves and lime tree groves that look like jungle, and then you'd start climbing, and you get up into the mountains, the Guadalajaras, and that's where all the cows, they had Bramer cows and goats and pigs. And the pig barns, they weren't like they are here. They're just concrete walls. Some had a roof over them, some didn't. But there was always water tanks there, and that was the hot spot for all the predators.
Mm-hmm.
You had food and you had water, but I had a tough time that first year with the foot traps. The lure was drying out. The ants were eating all the bait.
Yeah.
It was a lesson learner. It didn't have many snares. I went back the second time well prepared, and I tore them up.
Yeah.
But I tell you, I had some experiences with the military there and some close calls. I just counted my blessings and never went back.
Yeah, yeah. We like to go out of state on trapping trips, and that's kind of just the adventure of it all and different experience and the challenge of new terrain, trying to learn it or whatever and figure it out. But then going to another country, that's a whole different.
It's a whole different ball game. I was kind of lucky. My interpreter, which was one of his brothers, is a huge family. He was a local sheriff, so I kind of had it made on that end as far as safety went. But the military would still pull us over and give us the runaround. And like when I was on my way to the airport the last time, they came on. Two of them came on. Both had AK-47s and took my camera right off my neck with the barrel of an AK. And,
really?
Yeah, and walked off with my camera. And I was just glad to get on that airplane and get home.
So you didn't have any.
My traps are still down there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I had planned on going back,
Yeah.
But, oh well, there's Mexicans setting them now.
Yeah, yeah.
Or sold them for scrap iron, one or the other.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be a bit intimidating with the.
Oh, it was.
That would. I don't blame you.
Yeah, you just sit still and look straight ahead.
Say yes, sir.
Yeah, no comprende. No bueno.
Yeah, yeah. we have they've been coming up. There's some Mexicans that come to Indiana to work for this farmer every year, and there's several of them that come, and before they go back home, he always brings them up because they come up and buy trapping supplies.
I'll be darned.
To take home.
Yep.
And they've got sounds similar, but big ranch with lots of critter problems, and then they actually sell some traps to some of their neighbors that need the control work down there.
Yeah.
So they came up. One of them was going to go back home for a few weeks, so he actually took some back. They came about 3 weeks ago, and then they'll come back October or November, usually November, and buy equipment and take back home with them until they come back up to work.
Well, these guys was trying to trap. I mean, they had a heck of a big pile of Victor No. 3 double longs, and they were just wiring them off to whatever they could wire them off to, but none of them was covering anything with dirt, just exposed traps. And, they eat everything they kill, so they were using really ripe roadkill that wasn't edible for baits. And I mean, heck, the ants and the bugs was
right.
It was a roll station's what it was. That's why they weren't successful. They had never seen a coil spring trap, any of the Mexicans where I was at, and that blew their mind when I stepped on them levers and set one in front of them. I was running Bridger 3s and Duke 3s, and them little coyotes down there, they chew a trap right up.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Unbelievable. I was missing dogs. I was robbing dogs off their No. 3 double longs to put back on the Bridgers because they were getting tore clear off the trap.
I'll be darned.
I mean, just opened it up and gone.
So were you down there in the wintertime then? Or
No, I was down there in June. It was hotter than heck.
Okay.
And I didn't want to go down when my prime season was,
Sure.
May, June's when I was down there, and it'd get really cool at night. I mean, it was nice. It was kind of like the South here, cool at night and 90s and 100 during the day.
So did you catch lions down there too then?
I did. At the pig barn, they said it was a black jaguar, which, I was excited as heck. And I knew I didn't have iron that was going to hold that.
Mm-hmm.
But I did see where a lion, he came and drank out of the water tank, and then his muddy tracks, he jumped up on top of the concrete wall around the farrow barn, and you could see his muddy tracks going and dropped down, and he'd just grab a pig and jump back up on top of the wall and go back past, into the brush.
Mm-hmm.
I made a walk through basically on top of that wall, 3 stepping sticks, 2 traps, and
Mm-hmm.
grapple hook, and the last
Nailed
time he
him.
jumped off that wall, he had a Bridger 3 on his foot.
So how big a cat then was that?
Not
Weight?
big. They said it was big, but probably a 100-pounder.
Okay. Well, pretty good size.
Well,
but
it's
yeah.
a big cat for down there.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, it's not a big cat for Montana by any means.
So those mountain lions you catch in Montana, the ones on your coyote trapping DVD that you caught and
Right.
you catch and release.
Incidentals.
Yeah. 150 pounds?
Yeah, 130 to 150.
Okay.
The ones on that one on my coyote DVD is of 140, 150 pound
It seemed
cat.
like pretty good size
Yeah,
cat.
I've had a hold of bigger cats, had way bigger heads, but they'll just shear the end of a number 3 right off, shear the end of the jaw right off of one of them.
Oh, okay. So is that kind of a blessing in
You
a way?
get a hold of a 180 pound cat in a coyote trap, he destroys it.
Yeah.
If you're going to intentionally hold something like that, you need to get gear like Mitchell Simpson and Bill Applegate and some of them down in Texas. The
Yeah.
114 Newhouse type trap.
Okay. So are you kind of glad when the trap's dismantled and the lion's not there?
I had a huge cat 2 or 3 years ago. It's when the Bridger 3 dogless first come out.
Right.
They sent me some of them, and it was a great bobcat trap. Big pan, big kill area. Well, up above this set was a herd of bighorn sheep, and they were all bunched up looking down at my set. I knew something was going on, and I kind of was sneaking up. It was on a deer trail on the side of the mountain, pretty steep. There's a cedar up in there. We call them junipers. But it's been a diehard cat set forever. I mean, a cat every year. So I see it's all tore to pieces, and I knew lion right away. And I had him. I had them traps tied off to that juniper with a 10-foot, 1/8-inch extension cable. And that cat seen me, and I seen him at the same time, and his head was the size of a basketball, and he hit the end of that 10-foot cable and just sheared the end of the jaws right off that 3.
Yeah.
I mean, sheared him like cut him with a cutting torch.
Yeah. That's
So,
a lot.
yeah,
That's a lot of power.
and I'm glad he was going the other way.
Yeah.
There was no place to go. I mean,
Man,
yeah.
that's
Yeah.
crazy.
Thank you, Lord.
Yeah. I for those that have seen Andy's coyote DVD, and if you haven't, you ought to buy it and watch it. But it's an excellent DVD, and it's got that. It has a bear, a mountain lion, and a wolf in the DVD that you guys catch and release.
Yeah.
And that's got to be kind of a mixed
Well,
feeling.
we just wanted to show, it's titled Western Coyote Trapping, and we just wanted to show
what goes on.
what happens when you're Western Coyote Trapping.
That wolf that you caught in there that you had to release, the season wasn't in yet.
Right.
Was that the deal?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, and it was a coyote set. It wasn't a wolf set, but
When you are wolf trapping, then how long? I mean, I know this is a vague question or a question that probably doesn't have an answer on it, but I'm assuming they run a really big area. Their home range is
oh
big.
yeah, they travel a lot of miles, and it could be 10 days to 2 weeks before they come back through, if they come back through at all.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they find an area they like better than where they just came from and don't come back through at all.
So it's a very you got to be very patient waiting game.
Yep, and then you can always have them singles that don't have a family that could show up at any time.
Mm-hmm. What they get just pushed out of the pack.
I suppose, kind of like a dispersed coyote pup, you know, or maybe they all got killed and that's the only one left. It's hard to say.
The wolves, for instance, you had put on Facebook last year. What's something like that weigh?
Those were in the 80 to 90 pound range.
Okay.
Yep, a 2.5-year-old male will go 80 pounds.
So what do you do with those?
We sell them.
Okay. I mean, you selling them to taxidermists or
No, most of them do get mounted that you're selling them to. I've just got a market for people's always saying, hey, if you get a dark one or whatnot. We're getting that great big male. We had that double that day, me and Nikki did. And
right.
We're getting the male mounted. I tell you, I had a hold of it in a 600 sterling, which is anything you want to catch that trap's pretty much. If it steps on the pan, it's going to hold. But the end of the jaw was broke, and that was from the casting from the foundry.
Okay.
It happens in any cast jawed trap could have that.
Right.
And your eye can't see it.
Right.
It's internal.
Right.
But the jaw design and lever design still held them jaws in.
Really?
Yeah, and I got pictures to prove it. And but I also had an instinct to stop 50 yards short of driving on up to it and putting a 22 mag behind its shoulder too, when it stood up to start fighting. And I called Glenn and I told him about it, and he said, "Look at the end of that jaw. Is it shiny where it's broke, or is it black?" And I said, "It's black." And he said, "Yep, hairline fracture from the foundry, because the black dye had permeated the crack."
Oh, I see. Okay.
If it had been a fresh break, it'd have been shiny.
Gotcha.
So it wasn't because that wolf was so powerful and hitting the end of the chain. It was just a carbon deposit from the foundry.
Right. Interesting.
So now I've been going over everything and looking it over with a fine-tooth comb.
Yeah.
But you may have not even detected that anyways.
And probably wouldn't have.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's what a tribute to that trap to say that thing.
The jaw design.
Yeah.
You look at that trap and how Glenn designed them jaws and how the levers actually hold the jaw downward rather than just from the side.
Right.
Kept them together long enough to hold.
Of course, we're sitting here talking about a really great trap that's not very easy to get a hold of.
Well, yeah. But I've held them in, number 4 Victor double long. It's Bridger 3s. Number 2 Northwoods. You know, if they step on the pan, you get a hold of a good toe.
And I guess on the same subject too. So you help teach the wolf trapping certification classes then in Montana?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I stay out of that stuff.
Okay.
They asked me to come up and do a demo. They put a group of us trappers together to do some actual demonstrations after the certification class was over.
Oh, okay.
We did that this year.
Okay.
But I'm not part of that deal.
Okay. Well, we're talking about that you have a school that you do with Gary Jepson and Wayne Derrick.
Yep. I taught that school, West Texas Predator Control School. Mitchell Simpson. I taught that for 2 years with those guys and love them. Absolutely as good of friends as I've got in the world. I'm not going down this year. I'm so heavily, that's when all the ranches are calving that I trap for.
Okay.
And I just feel like I owe it to be at the ranch protecting livestock. That's what I do. So I'm not going to be down there this year. We're going to do one at home in Montana. It's strictly coyote and wolf. But anybody that's looking to be a better cat trapper, I can give you their number. That's the place to be. And they're as good a trappers as there is in the world.
You're talking about
Wayne Derrick
and
Gary Jepson and Mitchell Simpson.
Yeah. I help at the Trappers College, and of course Gary Jepson heads up the advanced class. You know, and I mean, can't say anything.
No.
What that he hasn't done.
No.
You know.
You guys really need to get with him. He's getting up there in the years.
Yes.
And you need to do it while you still can.
Yeah.
I've known Gary long enough that, well, I'm not going to sit here and brag or anything like that, but I've known him long enough that I can say that we think alike, and you better hop on the opportunity to pick his brain while you can.
Yeah, he's.
That's all I'll say about that.
When he does a presentation at the did you ever go to the Trappers College?
No, never did.
Well, he does a presentation at the college, and you know how Gary talks. He's very soft-spoken, very quiet, and you got to really pay attention when he's singing. And he's up there, and he's got a microphone, and he's talking about the life cycle of a coyote in the course of a year, and how his control work plays in with that coyote life cycle. And he's talking about having a good dog and a horse and riding into where a pup den is and sends the dog out ahead, and then the coyotes run the dog back, and then he shoots the coyotes.
Right.
And he goes, and it's pretty exciting.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. The most excited I've ever seen him, and I hope he hears this, is the last day of our school down there 2 years ago. And Ronnie Wooten from Alabama, he caught, I think, was the last coyote of the day of the trip, and had it on a grapple hook. So, and I don't even know what I was thinking. I said, let's choke this one out with Lee Steinmeier's choke pull. Well, I tested that for Lee. I've killed hundreds of coyotes with that thing. No blood.
Mm-hmm.
But you lay the coyote down with the choke pull on it next to you at the set. You rebuild the set. In that amount of time, the coyote's expired,
Mm-hmm.
and you go on about your way. Well, we were pulling traps, so there wasn't any laying
Time lag.
anything down to rebuild a set, and it was just like, all right, I took the choke pull off way too soon, and I knew it. And it's laying there, and its eyes open, and it's looking at me, and Gary's next to me, and Gary's got his pistol on, and I said, Gary, it's getting away, and he pulled that pistol out like a like a quick draw,
Like a gunslinger.
and bang, one shot on the run and rolled it.
Awesome.
And we started hooping and hollered, and he started chuckling. You know how he laughs. He's chuckling, and so me and him's headed back home. We rode down there together, and I said, I'll tell you what, bud, if I ever remember anything about you, it'll be that. And he said, there might have been a little luck involved.
I could hear him saying that too.
I might have to ask him about that story at the college.
20 feet on the run. It was catch and release, and he saved the day.
That's funny.
Oh man, that's great.
Yeah, I don't know. I've met Wayne Derrick. That's about as far as I can say. I don't really know Wayne, but
Wayne Derrick he's the guy that played linebacker and fullback and never got a break.
Yeah.
Was never off the football field, and probably only asked for a drink of water maybe twice the whole night. He's an animal.
Yeah.
Tough as nails.
Yeah.
And he's a coyote man, and he's a cat man, and he's a religious man, and he's one of my best friends.
Yeah.
That's all I can say about Wayne
We're
Derrick.
friends. We're friends on Facebook, but yeah,
He's
always
nothing but coyote knowledge.
Yeah.
Me and Wayne share the same birthday. That's about as much as we tell each other happy
bud.
birthday every year. That's about it.
If that little bit can rub off on you, you're that much better.
Yeah.
No, Wayne's awesome. He's an animal. He's tough, and he gets it done.
Yeah.
Makes good lure.
Yeah.
If I ever have a trouble, I mean, coyotes know your lure eventually.
Mm-hmm.
You kill the whole family, and there's that one female left, and she teaches them pups to veer around that smell.
Right.
And yeah, I don't think, other than my skunkier lures, even if they don't smell alike, but I don't have a lure that really smells the same. But they still know your style. Them coyotes get to know you.
Mm-hmm.
And if I need a lure that's different, I go to my back shelf and I grab Wayne's Scalp Hunter.
Mm-hmm.
I love that lure.
So that's your change up.
That's my change up.
Yeah.
I used to have some lures that was Loggermans when Fuller was alive.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm just leaving them alone to smell them and remember the good old times, you know. But
Sure.
I love to collect lures, and
Mm-hmm.
old lures, but Wayne's is up there for a reason. And that's if I got a cagey coyote that really needs to die and he's tuned into my stuff.
Right. Yeah. Well, he's been. I don't know how old Wayne is, but he's been around a while.
Yeah,
And
he's 65 probably.
Yeah. He's been doing that all his life. So
Yeah.
He's got quite a history. I remember listening to. He was on a podcast with. Clint Locklear did not do the podcast, but it was for Clint's podcast.
Right.
I can't remember who was the he did it with.
Doing the
but
interview,
yeah.
sure.
It was very interesting. It was a good one. So.
Oh, yeah.
So you've got a new Bobcat DVD out.
Yep, we did. I mean, I've shot a lot of footage and stuff over the years. It just came out. I think Mark did a pretty darn good job. what can you say? I mean, there's a million things you'd rather. You
Think
can't
about
get
after
in.
the fact, yeah.
You can't get in a 3-hour time period, and there's nothing fancy about my DVD. It's just how I've killed a lot of cats over the years, and I feel like if you get good at a set and pound it and pound it and pound it and be fast and be efficient, make him step where you want him to, I think that's the key to it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to put a bunch of experimental sets on there and act like I invented the wheel.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just I showed them how I like to do it, and I think it come out pretty good.
So, how, on average, you got to wait quite a while for a cat to make a catch on a cat.
Oh, right now you got to wait a whole season because we don't have any cats. The rabbit population crashed
you're on a
terrible.
cycle, down
I put in a few cat sets just to block my spot so somebody else didn't set them last year, but I honestly just hammered coyotes and geared up for wolves, and I'm leaving them be.
Okay.
But you can figure 30 days on a big tom
Okay.
in my country to come back through.
Okay.
20 to 30 days.
So if you miss him then, or if he's not in the mood
Season
to work
could
a
be
set,
over.
or yeah.
And I've got a limit, and I'm not complaining about it at all because we don't have cat. I don't want to kill something I don't have.
Right.
But we've got a 5-cat limit in my area. It used to be 7. It's down to 5. And our quota we reduced this year by 100 cats, and I'm for it.
Yeah.
I'm not about making something go extinct.
Right. Well, and I think that's, something that we as trappers, those that don't understand us or don't appreciate us or hate us,
No.
they think that we're out to,
No.
we want this to be sustainable. We want this to go on
That's right.
forever,
Yep, I want a healthy cat population like it's been for years.
Right.
And it's just Mother Nature. The rabbits crash, and so don't the bobcats.
Right.
The lynx are the same way.
Right.
A lot of our national forest is so unmanaged, so thick with timber. I don't want to get on ranting and raving here, but our national forest is the shits for downfall trees.
So it needs a good
No sunlight, no grass, no snowshoe hares. They wonder where the lynx went. They're going to blame it on the trapper. Are you kidding me? It's the ones not managing the habitat.
So you need a really good forest fire.
We need a Forest Service to get their head out of their butt.
Yeah. Yeah.
Get the undergrowth back under
Get
there.
some grass in there.
Yeah.
Open it up so
Yeah.
it can breathe.
See, Indiana, they quit the within the state properties. It was happened a number of years ago. They didn't want any more clear cutting, and those pushing that were the hunting community, trapping community was in favor of the clear cuts. They understood the benefits of it, just increased wildlife habitat. So it fell. They quit doing it. We don't have any grouse left anymore. Because that's was what they needed to survive, and we've lost. It's the only animal in bird in Indiana under modern wildlife management that we have lost a season on, and it's because of the habitat.
Yep. Oh yeah.
And
firm believer in it.
It's that just that idea that we need to preserve this, which ends up being not a good thing.
No.
So.
No, we're our worst enemies when it comes to a lot of that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
As a race.
Right. And we've talked about it with others. We've kind of got this dark cloud over us with these groups out there that don't understand what we do and
Right.
live a complete different lifestyle. And there's things that I don't play golf, but I'm not out against it.
Me either.
So it's like I know this is more emotional than something like that. But on the other hand, it's like if you don't like it or whatever, don't do it.
No
But
doubt
leave me
about
alone.
it. Yep.
We're all under the guise of trained professionals, everything. So.
Oh, I'm notorious for throwing footballs with these kids at trapping conventions.
Yeah.
I mean, my arm's sore right now. I'm losing it every year. But you'll have some trappers that don't want to see that football flying through the air. We're here to trap.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, that is no different than PETA telling us that we shouldn't be trapping.
Yeah.
We should be loving.
Yeah, yeah,
Same deal.
yeah. And we
Just because we don't like it doesn't mean it's
right.
not somebody else doesn't.
Right, exactly. And we have a greater appreciation and a love for animals than they do, that
By
they will
far.
never understand.
By far.
Never understand. So.
No. No, just a little bit ago I was thinking about home and wondering how my dogs are doing.
Yeah.
I'm ready to get home.
Yeah.
Feed
What's your main dog's name?
Monty.
Monty. Okay.
Oh, yeah, he's getting old.
The one that goes out and runs around the coyote and gets him all fired up and then runs back in your.
Knows how to nip him on the butt and stay away from the front end. No, Monty's been a good dog. I've decoyed with him a lot, killed a lot of coyotes with him, and he's getting arthritis bad, and I'm training some new pups now.
Yeah.
Take his place, but he'll always have a home at my
Yeah.
at the Peg Leg Ranch.
Yeah. Yeah. And I got to say one thing too. When I'm envious of you, being in Montana and having the opportunities that you have and all that. But when I think you had one day that you showed your thermometer in your truck and it was
34 below,
yeah,
35 below.
I wasn't
yeah.
that envious of that.
No, we had, I think it was 30 straight days of below zero last winter.
Yeah, I mean that is cold.
The snow. I usually don't get that much snow. Heck, I was having to unload my snowmobile in town because wasn't a place to pull off the county road to unload.
Yeah, yeah.
But oh well. you
make it
you
work.
get that country to yourself when you get that kind of weather, and I love that.
Yeah, I'm sure that's true. I'm sure that's true. As long as you got.
There isn't anybody out hiking with their dogs.
Yeah.
When it's below zero.
Do you have much issue with that kind of stuff?
A lot.
I know.
If it's warm like it was this year, it was real warm December. Hikers everywhere.
Yeah.
Dogs everywhere. I was cutting pine boughs and throwing over my sets to keep hikers from dogs getting in my sets, just hoping it'd get cold and they would quit going in there, and then I could pull the pine boughs off and have sets working.
I know you've mentioned in your video about hunters shooting your catches.
Oh yeah, that's a given every year.
Which I don't know why they do that.
Yeah, blows
They
me
drive around. It's not the hunters that hike, not the hardcore hunters. It's the drive around road hunters, and they drive all day, don't see anything to shoot, and there's a free coyote to blast. You know, but I do a lot of hiking to get down in the draws and out of sight.
Yeah, just to avoid that.
Yep, we came out with a smaller compact gear bag than what our other bags are, just to lighten the load up, and I've been using it for a couple of years, and I guess where I'm going at is I try to carry the least amount of equipment I can and get them coyotes out of sight from the road.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We've in the national forest that we've trapped, if we're closer to an urban area, those nice days, man, you got to just, it's a pain.
Yeah.
You know, it's everything from bicyclers to guys running their dogs to all of that, you know. So
well, you got to learn how to adapt, because
Yeah.
they've got just as much right to it as we do.
yeah, and I guess in my mind, I wouldn't think about you having quite that issue being in Montana.
Oh
but
yeah,
it's, you know.
we're the new California.
Yeah.
I tell you, when it comes to this.
And you guys came pretty close on an anti-trapping
Oh yeah,
deal
they've been hammering
a couple
us
years ago. So.
about every 2 years, or maybe it's 4. I can't remember. There'll be a new. I forget what you call it.
New initiative.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we just keep fighting them down.
Yeah. I mean,
But thank God there's still, Montana is ranching.
Right.
And we've got enough pull. When it comes down to the vote, the majority of Montana wants trappers.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is a good thing. So Andy, you've got your lure line, and you have a website.
I do. It's down right now. Going to be honest with you, I don't know if I want it to be back up, Charlie.
Okay.
I had one of the first websites ever, and it's when you have a computer crash and you've got 250 traps out and you're the only one at home, it can turn into a real nightmare.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I want to live that way.
Okay.
I've got dealers like you, Dakota Line, Minnesota Trap Line. I want to keep you guys stocked up, keep you guys sending the lure to the customers while I trap.
That sounds.
I'm fortunate that I have good help.
I know. You all do. No.
But we do fight the issue of getting out to trap because that time of year it's pretty intensely busy. So, it's tough sometimes for us to find 1 and 2 week windows to get out and set traps. So
just being honest with you, I love my customers. I love the feedback. Like this weekend, I've had tons of testimonials. I love to make lure, but I am a trapper.
Yeah.
And I'll always be a trapper, and I'll quit this lure business before I'll quit being a trapper.
Yeah.
I want all my customers to enjoy my products. I don't want it to turn any of you away. But when fall and winter hits, use these other dealers because I'm gone.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate being able to sell your product, and
thanks.
We appreciate that. So, and you got a new Bobcat DVD. You got an excellent Coyote DVD.
Working on a Coyote and Wolf DVD.
Okay.
Livestock protection. It's going to be coming out one of these days.
Is that with Mark too, or is that independent of Mark?
I'm not sure. We'll see.
Okay.
I've had awful good luck with Mark in the past. He's a great guy, and I don't see why not.
Yeah.
Might be several more DVDs with different folks.
Yeah.
You never know.
Yeah.
But I love to film.
Did you get Mark's new book that he wrote with of his short stories?
Not yet.
Something about crapping in chimneys or something.
Well, I know the spots. All I can tell you. And there ain't been a cat back since then. I'm blaming it on the rabbits, but it could be the guy that sit on that outhouse the last time.
Oh man. Well, that was a good little chat. We should probably get back to our booth.
Yeah, we probably should get back to work. So
thanks, guys.
I appreciate you being on.
Well, we sure appreciate you doing this, taking the time to do it.
Fun.
And we appreciate what you do in the promotion of trapping. So.
Well, good to go.
All right, thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, guys. All right, before we let you go, got to do a little product highlight as always here. Been talking about Charlie's Lures, the Leatherwood line. There's one that I really like since season's getting closer. It's called Coyote Carnage, number 405. And it's a great early season to mid-season lure. It's not overbearing, like punch you in the face sort of smell. It's definitely going to grab the attention of any predators that's walking by, not just the coyotes, but works on foxes and bobcats as well. And throughout the season, even in colder weather, it works really good for remakes. I tend to use that a lot, not just here in Indiana, but when we go down south to Arkansas or Mississippi or somewhere like that that has a milder weather, warmer weather climate, really pick up on that Coyote Carnage. Find myself digging through my basket for that quite often. But yeah, definitely give that a shot if you haven't. They're a 1 ounce bottle is $7 or a 4 ounce bottle is $24. You can get those HoosierTrapperSupply.com, or you can call us here at the shop. That's 317-881-3075. And I'll go ahead and mention one other funny thing. We might have said this in episode 1 with Charlie, but the what I really like about this lure that's funny is the way he came up with the name. I believe the story goes, one day somebody came in the shop, this lady, and I'm not sure what she was there for in the first place. Maybe she had like a raccoon problem and just wanted to catch it in a cage and remove it. But then she started looking around and seeing pictures of coyotes and all this stuff, and she was just kind of appalled by what we do. And she says, oh, look at the carnage. And right there, bam, whole light bulb went off in Charlie's head and named a lure after it called Coyote Carnage. I always thought that was great. But give it a shot, like I said, and we'll see you for episode 15 here in 2 weeks. Thanks.